Meddling diamond ring. Football. The Kansas Jayhawks, that one team that if you are a Big 12 opponent and when you see Kansas on your schedule and you're about to face them, you do this. Well, for Kansas, though, it's been no laughing matter on the gridiron. Only 3 wins in the past 3 seasons, including coming into this season with an 11-game losing streak. And for Coach David Beaty, the pressure's really on him, not just because Kansas football continues to be at the bottom, but Beaty now has a new boss because the guy who hired him, the old athletic director, was fired this past May. So now, obviously, Coach Beaty, as I mentioned, has a new boss, and you can bet that that guy is not going to be as forgiving as the last one if Coach Beaty's team doesn't show signs of notable improvement. Matter of fact, Coach Beaty could be fired during this season and not at the end of it. Wouldn't be the first time that Kansas has done that this decade. Let's begin offensively with the Jayhawks. You know, they were bottom of the conference in record. They were bottom of the conference in total offense as well. Just 329 yards per game is what they averaged. And offensive coordinator Doug Meacham, as well as Coach Beaty, they love to throw the football, but they were largely ineffective at that. And they need to find a quarterback and stick with the guy no matter what. Because last year, Peyton Bender got his shot at trying to have success. Didn't really work out that well. Just 54% completion percentage and 10 interceptions to go with his 10 touchdowns. Carter Stanley really wasn't much of an upgrade at all. 55% completion percentage. As a matter of fact, the guys combined for 14 touchdowns and a whopping 17 picks. So don't be surprised if it's a junior college guy by the name of Miles Kendrick that gets his opportunity to show what he can do under center. In terms of the receivers, at least you get just about everybody back, including Steven Sims, one of the better receivers in the Big 12, 59 receptions a year ago, now entering his senior year, over 800 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. And you have Jeremiah Booker coming back as well. He had 22 receptions. The ground game, well, we'll see if they can pick it up. A year ago, dead last in the Big 12 and 125th in the country in rushing not even 110 yards per game on the ground. Khalil Herbert, when he's healthy, hey, the guy can make a difference. We saw that against West Virginia with 291 yards on the ground, but because of hamstring issues, only ended up with 663 rushing yards for the season. Dom Williams does come back. That should be valuable for Kansas in terms of depth, and some more depth. Good news for the Jayhawks. Number 1 overall recruit, Puka Williams out of the state of Louisiana. Expect him to be a part of that rotation as well. The offensive line for Kansas does return some experience, including a guy that could very well be all Big 12 this season if he stays healthy. We're talking about Hakeem Adeniji. But unfortunately for Hakeem, he's had to deal with multiple shoulder surgeries. Right guard, you have Chris Hughes returning. He started his freshman year. And at center, Andrew Toby, who now enters his junior season. Well, just like the Kansas offense, the Kansas defense had their struggles in 2017, dead last in the conference in total D, giving up 448 yards per contest. We'll begin with the defensive line, which did have a strong year as far as getting to the quarterback. Now, part of that was Dorrance Armstrong Jr., a first-team all-Big 12 player at defensive end, but now he's in the NFL. But you do return a solid player in Daniel Wise at the interior at defensive tackle. 7 sacks a year ago, 16 tackles for loss, potential all-Big 12 player entering 2018. And J.J. Holmes should be a great addition for that Kansas interior as well, 335-pound player from the JUCO ranks. The Jayhawks, though, have to get better as far as stopping the run. They gave up 31 rushing touchdowns in 2017. Well, linebackers, one of the best in the Big 12. Call him Joe Dineen, or as I like to call him, Joe Dineen, the tackling machine, because he racked up 137 stops last year. Kansas will primarily play a 4-2-5 defense in the secondary. Well, they simply have to step it up. This was a very dreadful part of that Kansas defense last year because not only did they give up 296 yards of passing offense per game, but they also, too, had very few interceptions. In fact, just 1 pick in their final 7 games. Minus 17 in the turnover margin. You know, we talk about Kansas having a lot of problems last year. This was a big one. They just did not force turnovers. So secondary, You get back Mike Lee at the safety position, 71 tackles and 2 picks. At the nickelback position, Bryce Thornton with 61 tackles. And a much-needed addition for this Kansas team at the corner position. Their number 2 overall recruit, Corian Harris, should be able to play right away and possibly start. Let's break down the 5 games that I think Kansas is going to have the best shot at a victory. Now, keep in mind, this doesn't mean that I think Kansas will win these games, but compared to the other 7 that you don't see on the screen, I think these are the 5 that gives them the best shot at a W. Nickel State will be a victory, I think. Then you go to Central Michigan, and I know last year the Chippewas won in Lawrence, but CMU, well, they're going through a rebuilding stage right now, so you never know. The next game, yes, this is going to really be a TV ratings winner, not when Rutgers comes to Lawrence. I said it on the Rutgers preview, you're not going to have a hard time getting a good seat for this game. Tickets are not that expensive, and after all, it is Kansas and Rutgers. All right, let's take a look at the 2 Big 12 games. I think Kansas will have the best shot at trying to get a victory at Baylor, but Baylor's only win last year did come at Kansas. We'll see what happens this time around in Waco, though. And I'm going to say Iowa State. I know Iowa State will be favored to win this game, but the game is in Lawrence, and we have seen stranger things happen in the past. Remember a couple years ago, Kansas won at home against Texas. I don't think anybody picked that at all. All right, so as far as how Kansas is going to finish, well, believe it or not, I got Kansas picked dead last. I know I'm really going on a limb here. Look, the Jayhawks, I know, do have some nice pieces, but they are still behind the rest of the Big 12 as far as talent and in most cases depth as well. Kansas will win, I think, a couple of games this year, but I think both probably will come outside of the Big 12. And I think time will officially run out for David Beaty, as not only do I think he won't be back next year as head coach, there's a pretty good chance that he's not even going to get to finish out the 2018 season. Right now, Kansas, when it comes to the Big 12, they're in a bottomless pit. That's my look at the Jayhawks. See you next time.